Revered Professor Chakraborty, my friend Professor Mukherjee, ladies and gentlemen. We will be discussing Raja Ram Mohan Roy on his 251st birth year from different perspectives. This has been an effort of Ministry of Culture, Government of India. Whenever we start any discussion on Raja Ram Mohan Roy, the trend had been for a pretty long period to relate it to the sati concept which was there in our society and his effort to abolish this custom in his own way. But I have a question before I start this deliberation. Here in this house, roughly 100 plus Indians are present. I will ask anyone who have heard from his own kith and kin that there had been a sati in his family. As far as I am concerned, I know my ancestral lineup till 28th generation. And I know the names of our family members who was married to our family, the woman members, till 10 generations. None of them were being taken for sati or had been such case in our family. I will say any one of you who have heard from your ancestors or who have this experience in consideration that any member of your family has been taken for sati. Is there anyone? If there is anyone, you please raise your hand. But the person should be from your kith and kin. And if anyone says the name, I will check the name with the history of that time. Because whenever there is a sati, it was registered in the government documents. So any one of you can say that there had been a sati in your family, in your kith and kin. See, no hands are raising. And I have been asking this question to all the seminars where I go to talk on Ram Mohan. It was prevalent amongst a very microscopic minority of the Hindu society, because this has been a trend that you set this tone that as if Hindus were throwing their married brides who were untimely being widows to fire. And this has been a projection that the entire Hindu society in that period was cruel and inhuman. But anyone here is not saying that they have ever heard that any one of their family members were taken for sati. Now I come to the conclusion. It was not prevalent among the non-Brahmins. It was not at all prevalent among the Ram Mohan Roy was a Banerjee Brahmin. So we who come from the non-Brahmin community, I being a Kayastha, there has been no history of any sati in any non-Brahmin family. Why we non-Brahmins will take up an issue which has been only prevalent among Brahmins, number one. Number two, the Brahmin population amongst the Hindu community in Bengal is less than 2%, is nearly 1%. So why 99% of the Hindus will accept something which was prevalent among only 1% of the Hindu community? And again I come back. Not even all Brahmins. Only the wealthy Brahmins, because that was property centric. Poor Brahmins never experienced this. Here, I think there are many people who are Brahmins. My own professor, Professor Radharaman Chakraborty, is a Brahmin. He has not risen his hand that there has been any case of sati in his family. Professor Mukherjee is also a Brahmin. Mukherjee Shah, is there any case of sati in your family? He is not also raising his hand. So there has been no sati among those poor Brahmins. Rammohn Roy was a rich Brahmin, a zamindar. So this is no doubt, if it is prevalent among a microscopic minority, it's no doubt bad and it should be eradicated. But to project it as it was prevalent among the entire Hindu society, and Hindu society was cruel and throwing their girls to fire, this is something which was over projection, which was something, a myth creation, which is to be understood at the beginning. And research has been done on this in Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture by Professor Geetosri Banerjee. She is the person who told me this. And she has proved it through her research, Professor Geetosri Banerjee. Now, the question of the versatility of Ram Mohan. He was both a Sanskrit Pandit and a Pandit in Parshyam. And the founder of the Brahma religion. Now, this concept of Advaita, that God has practically manifested through concepts which is there in Advaita Vedanta. I do remember the quotation of Swami Vivekananda in his paper read on 19 September in Chicago, that from the high heights of the Vedanta philosophy to the low ideas of idolatry, with its multifarious diversity, monism, qualified monism, dualism, atheism, agnosticism, each and all has a place in the Hindu's religion. So it is not that Rammohan was saying something which was not there in the Hindu society. He was saying something which was there in the Hindu society. That is monism. Brahmanandam Paramashukadam Kevaram Jnanamutting Dandatitam Gavarshan Drisham Tatto Vashvadi Laksham Ekam Rittam Vimalamacharam Sarvodi Shakshishi Bhutan. So this is there. He is without shape, without color, without rupa. That was there in our society, which he reiterated. So it is not something which is new, conceptualized by him. He was practically making the Hindus conscious about the ancient past. And he was fighting conservatism on the basis of his understanding of the Sanatana Dharma. Now, the college he founded, he was not an agnostic, he was not an atheist. The college he founded was Hindu College, which is today known as Presidency College. He had a great contribution, but the name was Hindu College. So, his social reforms, which he took up, was the need of the hour. There is no point of disagreement on that. And what Swamiji told, these social evils came to our society due to long years of colonialism. And this is not only the period we were under the British, this is a period which starts from the Dark Age in the Middle Age, the medieval period. So he reminded us of our grand, glorious, great past. So if we have the Sanatan Hindu concepts which were there in our society as the thesis, and the so-called ultra-liberals placing the antithesis, Ram Mohan Roy made a synthesis. He never been outright radical like the Derosians, and neither was a right conservative like the orthodox Brahmin. He placed himself in between. He was vocal about civil rights during his period when the subjects were not talked about. And he was talking about a society where human rights will be protected. Now, when we talk about British Constitution, we say it's an unwritten constitution. Harvey Bether describes it in a better manner. And we have a written constitution. So on the basic ethos on which the modern constitutions are written, practiced, and laws were formed and implemented are conceptualized by Raja Ram Mohan much before we could have thought about it. There lies his greatness. He was against image worship, although his ancestors were not. He came from a Vaishnav Brahmin family where also Shaivite rites were also very deep and close. But there lies two feelings. Whether we will accept his opinion as he gave regarding image worship, or we will accept the opinion of Sri Ramakrishna. Now, when somebody speaks against image worship, often he is not well versed about the philosophy behind that image. We worship Durga, the most famous festival among the Hindus of Bengal. Now, Durga is the epitome of Brahma Guna. Lion is the epitome of Rajaguna. Ashur is the epitome of Tamaguna. Brahmaguna, in the help of Rajaguna, is fighting with Tamaguna. Now this Brahmaguna, Rajaguna, Tamaguna, three gunas are present in each and all of us. And the prayer is that Brahmaguna should be there all along. The Rajaguna should be monitored and controlled by Brahmaguna, and the Tamaguna in us should be eradicated, erased. So image worship, Sri Ramakrishna, as he told, is a process from Sakar Brahma to Nirakar Brahma. It is a process of meditation. So Ram Mohan's concept of Advaita, there is no debate on it. But moving towards Advaita through Swakar Brahma to Nirakar Brahma, that is also a very important way of worship. That's why when the Vedic chanting went on, what Maharaja told. Now Sri Jatirajaya Vivekananda Suray Satchit Sukh Sarupaya Swamine Tapoharine Jananing Swaradang Deving Ramakrishnam Jagat Guru Pado Padmetayo Shityam Pranamami Mohormo. This is image worship. And that is right. There is no debate on this. So Ram Mohan's concept, which he told about image worship, can be debated. And that's why the Brahmo movement remained an elite movement. It never was a mass movement. But the Ramakrishna Vivekananda Vedanta movement was and will be a mass movement. And here Swami Vivekananda, who went to Brahma Samaj also, played a pioneer role. Sarala Devi Chaudharani, Sarala Ghoshal, Swamiji wanted her in the Ramakrishna Vivekananda Vedanta movement. But Sarala Ghoshal never came. The debate was with image worship. and Nivedita did the responsibilities what was thought as a responsibility of Sarala Ghoshal to dedicate herself for the development of the woman in Bengal. Ram Mohan dreamt about an egalitarian society, a caste-less egalitarian society. And this is a very modern concept and has to be supported. Here also, the concept of caste he fought with the Shastras. The caste structure which we follow is endogamous kinship-based grouping. Now this endogamous kinship-based grouping is not that what we had in our scriptures. Chaturvarna Maya Srishta Guna Karma Vivajanam. That it's a division of labor based on merits. It was not based on birth. So here also he did a good job, but our caste system was not on the basis of birth, it was on the basis of work. Ram Mohan was an universal personality. He believed in the universal oneness of the humanity, irrespective of its innate diversity. And there lies his greatness, that during his stay in England, from 1831 to 1833, the Raja agitated for reform in the administrative system of British India. He was the first one to knock the door that there are reasons which has to be taken up. He was the first Indian to be consulted on Indian affairs by the British Parliament. There lies his greatness. While giving his evidence before a select committee of House of Commons, he suggested reforms in practically all branches of Indian administration, the father of Indian Renaissance, as he is rightly called. The political ideas of Raja Ram Mohan were influenced by European philosophers and jurists like Bacon, Hume, Bentham, Blackstone, and Montesquieu. He advocated the peaceful settlement of international disputes through the mediation of Congress composed of an equal number of members from the parliaments of the countries concerned. This peaceful way of resolving disputes in the international structure, which is the main theme of United Nations organization, had been long ago discussed by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Perhaps the first earnest-minded investigator of the science or comparative religions that the world has produced. Today you will find departments of comparative religion in different universities of North America and also in the Western world. Raja Ram Mohan Roy thought about a universal religion where we will be able to understand the basic components of different religion. He was a spiritual person. He accepted that spirituality should lie at the substructure upon which the material superstructure should be erected. According to Nandalal Chatterjee, whose name has been referred already by Shumon, he referred number of names. I will come to those names, like Professor Ramesh Chandra Majumdar, Sir Jadunath Sarkar. So, according to Nandalal Chatterjee, Raja Ram Mohan Roy was the human link. I again repeat the word human link. This is a very specific terminology between the fading past and the dawning future. This journey keeps closer to our concept of centralism. Without speaking against anything which I dislike, he tried to synthesize between the past and the future, between vested conservatism and radical reform. That's why I told he was not a radical as the De Rozians. He wanted to reform, to build a bridge between conservatism, where vested interests were closely associated, and the reform he thought right according to his wisdom. Between superstitious isolationism and progressive synthesis, I started with it that Ram Mohan synthesized the thesis and the antithesis prevailing during his period. In short, between reaction and progress. Nowadays, most of the time, we react either in favor or against. Ram Mohan tried to build a bridge of synthesis. Now, as far as the historical analysis of Ram Mohan is concerned, we have taken history in the post-independence period into compartments. There have been different schools of history. The left liberal Aligarh school, the nationalist school, there have been number of schools and the historians differ. I'm not going into the debate today because this is not the place, neither the topic to be discussed, but I will stand with the explanations on Ram Mohan as conceptualized by Ramesh Chandra Majumdar and Sir Jagannath Sarkar. In this perspective, he was a Gyan Yogi. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that we have different paths leading us to the Almighty. The Gyan Yoga, the Raj Yoga, the Bhakti Yoga, the Karma Yoga. Ram Mohan Roy was a Gyan Yogi. He wanted to understand through intellectual debate the presence of the Almighty. Sri Ramakrishna once told that I am giving Gyan Yoga only to Naren because it is very difficult. Naren can do it. And for others, for commoners like us, he told that Bhakti Yoga is better. Because if you want to travel from the house of Jivatma to the house of Paramatma, if you go through Grand Yoga, there is different ways that you can be misled if you don't have a proper guru. Swamiji had the proper guru in Sri Ramakrishna. But Bhakti Yoga, it's told that if there is a rain, what happens? All the different divisional plots which is there at the ground gets overwhelmed, flooded by the water of red. And you take a boat from Jivatma and you sail on to the house of Paramatma. Bhakti Yoga is not looking for God. Bhakti Yoga is looking at God. So Ram Mohan was a Gyan Yogi. And no doubt, being a very serious scholar of Sanskrit, he had great faith in the Rigveda, the oldest. And Ram Mohan never pretended to set up a separate communal religious order. He was an attempt. What was his attempt? His attempt of spiritual unification of the Hindus as well as of all mankind on the basis of available similarity in spiritual views of different peoples and different periods. This unification is often referred to as a synthesis of different faiths and cultural traditions. But Ram Mohan's synthesis was different. It implied discrimination and systematic choice, directed by two standards of reason and social comfort, which occur so often in his work. Because this a Gyan Yogi must do, otherwise he will not be able to come closer. I will end my deliberation with a note of reference. that those who want to learn about Ram Mohan more, I will suggest that Life and Letters of Ram Mohan Roy, the collected version, published in the year of 1930 by A.C. Sarkar and Company, this can be a good book to read. D.S. Das Sarma, Studies in the Renaissance of Hinduism in the 19th and 20th century, published from Benares. The Benares Hindu University did this work. And third, the most important, On Ram Mohan Roy, the book written by Professor Ramesh Chandra Majumdar. The Asiatic Society published it in the year 1972. These are the books which can take you nearer to the life and times of Ram Mohan. Ram Mohan dreamt about a cultured knowledge society. And we are dreaming of a knowledge society where most of the values which he pledged, from spiritual renaissance to egalitarian society, each and all comes into the domain of his teachings, and practice. With these words, I will end my welcome note with deep regard to Professor Radharaman Chakraborty, my supervisor, and a well-known name in the world of international relations. My welcome note goes to Professor Mukherjee of Vishwabharati, who is a scholar in the subject to be discussed today. And I expect that you will gain from his deliberation. My love and regards goes to well-known publisher house and its competent editor-in-chief, Sri Shuman Bhaumik, who has played an important role along with each and all of us, with Makayas, with Velur Vidya Mandir, with Anushilan. He has taken each and all of us together and has made this a successful endeavor. And my thanks goes to each and all of you, my regards goes to each and all of you who have turned in large numbers to hear on Ram Mohan. And amongst the spectators, listeners present today, a huge number of students of Ramakrishna Vidya Mandir is present. I recall my days when I was also a student of Ramakrishna Mission. So this is a homecoming. We all belong to the fraternity of Ramakrishna Mission. So I'm grateful that this seminar could have been organized by the cooperation of each and all. Thank you. Namaskar.